Imagine looking up into the night sky above the nation's capital and realizing that something is moving through restricted airspace. Something that appears on radar, is seen by trained pilots, and prompts the United States Air Force to scramble fighter jets. It sounds like the opening scene of a Hollywood thriller, but this is a true story rooted in one of the most debated UFO incidents in American history. Welcome to Truth Be Told. I'm Tony Sweet. Every July, conversations about UFO history almost always turn to Roswell. But another extraordinary event unfolded just 5 years later that deserves just as much attention. During 2 weekends in July 1952, radar operators, commercial pilots, military personnel, and civilians reported mysterious objects over Washington, D.C. The incident became known as the Washington UFO Flap and ultimately led to one of the largest Pentagon press conferences of the Cold War. Tonight, we'll examine what happened, what witnesses reported, how the Air Force responded, and why historians and researchers continue debating this case more than 70 years later. To understand the significance of these events, we have to understand the era. America was in the early years of the Cold War. Nuclear tensions with the Soviet Union were growing, radar installations were expanding, and any unknown object near Washington was treated seriously. At the same time, reports of flying saucers were appearing throughout the country. Newspapers called 1952 the Summer of the Saucers because hundreds of sightings had been reported before July even arrived. Late on July 19, 1952, radar controller Edward Nugent at Washington National Airport noticed several unidentified targets. They did not resemble normal air traffic. Controllers watched the objects appear, disappear, and change position. Some estimates suggested rapid movements that challenged conventional explanations, though the precise speeds remained debated because radar interpretation in 1952 was not as sophisticated as it is today. Nearby Andrews Air Force Base reportedly detected unusual returns as well. At roughly the same time, pilots flying into Washington described seeing bright lights that did not resemble ordinary aircraft. The combination of independent radar observations and visual reports immediately elevated the seriousness of the incident. Military officials ordered interceptor aircraft toward the target. According to many witnesses and later accounts, the mysterious radar returns often disappeared as fighters approached, then reappeared after the jets departed to refuel. Whether this represented unusual atmospheric conditions, radar limitations, or intelligent maneuvering remains one of the central questions surrounding the case. Newspapers seized on the story. Headlines suggested unidentified objects had invaded the skies over the Capitol. Public curiosity exploded. 1 week later, on July 26th and 27th, the phenomenon appeared to repeat itself. Additional radar contacts were reported. Pilots again described unusual lights. Interceptor aircraft were launched once more. The repeated nature of the reports made this episode far more compelling than an isolated sighting. Investigators now had 2 weekends of similar claims involving trained observers. The growing public interest forced the Air Force to respond. Major General John Samford addressed reporters during one of the largest Pentagon press conferences held since World War II. Officials argued that many reports could be explained by temperature inversions, weather conditions capable of producing unusual radar echoes. They stressed that there was no evidence of hostile aircraft or extraterrestrial visitors. The explanation satisfied some observers, but left others unconvinced. Critics argued that experienced radar operators knew the difference between false returns and aircraft. Others pointed to the simultaneous visual reports as evidence that something more than atmospheric distortion may have occurred. Today, the Washington Flap occupies a unique place in UFO history. Skeptics note that extraordinary events often emerge from a combination of environmental conditions, technology limitations, and human perception. They caution against drawing conclusions that exceed the evidence. Researchers who consider the case significant emphasize the convergence of multiple sources: radar, pilots, controllers, military action, and extensive documentation. They argue that even if every individual observation could eventually receive a conventional explanation, the totality of the events remains difficult to dismiss. Regardless of where one stands, this case illustrates the importance of critical thinking. It encourages us to separate verified facts from speculation, while acknowledging that history sometimes leaves us with unanswered questions. The Washington UFO flap did not prove extraterrestrial life. It also did not completely disappear under the weight of a simple explanation. Instead, it remains an enduring mystery that continues to inspire historians, aviation experts, scientists, and UFO researchers alike. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the story is not what appeared over Washington, but how seriously the reports were taken. Radar stations documented unusual returns. Pilots described unexplained lights. Military aircraft were scrambled. The Pentagon felt compelled to address the nation. Whether those events represented atmospheric anomalies, misunderstood technology, classified programs, or something still unknown, they remind us that curiosity is one of humanity's greatest strengths. Asking difficult questions is how science advances and how history is continually re-examined. I'm Tony Sweet, and this has been Truth Be Told. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and keep searching for the truth.